Jerky's Machine, most entertaining channel you've ever seen. He's always making lots of interesting scenes for you to watch on YouTube.
Well, back again, I see. I can't thank you enough for your continued interest in this project. If you're just joining us, you'll probably want to watch episodes 1 and 2 first. For those returning, we're now getting to the phase where all decisions about the flip have been made. Almost all parts have been ordered and have arrived, and the build is starting. Very exciting stuff. Coming up, we get a tour of the mise en place of this tonal recipe. We take a look at the board design layout and then get busy prepping it for the components to be installed. We also start getting the chassis ready for the board's standoff holes to be drilled out. But before we get to any of that, as promised, in this episode, we're going to get to know the EMB, the undeniable star of this series, and the amp that inspired the final design of this Marshall JTM30 flip. I can only hope I've adequately captured the magic of this amp so you can really hear why it is so satisfying to play through. But what is the story on this amp anyway? What does EMB even mean? Well, there's no one better to explain these things than the amp's creator and our series guest star, Mr. Craig Barnett of Krager Electronics. Craig, give us some insight on this incredible amp you made.
It started its life as a Crate VC30. I think that was the model. I got this from a music store that said that it was returned, and so the company sent the customer a new amp, and they had this in the back room just sitting there ready to throw it away, and I'm like going, no, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I took it, and I brought it home and flipped it into something else because it really was one of those ones that just, that's what needed to happen with it. So like very much like yours, it was like, no, I don't like the way this sounds, and it's broken.
Yeah.
I did get it working before I tore it apart. Then I tore it apart and flipped it into this. But so anyways, what the EMB is basically your typical one channel of a Marshall Plexi.
Okay.
So it's got one channel for the preamp with volume, treble, and bass controls, no mid control. That's fixed.
Yeah.
And then it has a cathode follower, which is typical Marshall. Then the tone stack comes, and then it goes to the power tubes, which are two actually gorgeous old Sylvanias, probably like 60 years old, that I got off of some guy's old hi-fi equipment that was dead in the water, but the tubes were still good.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to save these for a really special project. And when I started thinking about, this is my first amp that I ever did with a VVR, which is the variable voltage regulator control, which scales down the voltage to the power tubes and to the phase inverter, which kind of allows you to get that thing that I think, like we talked about before earlier in the series, without doing it with a variac where you're globally lowering all the voltages. This allows you to keep the preamp intact, running at its normal voltage, but it allows you to scale back the power tubes. And I thought, well, what a great thing to be able to preserve these beautiful old tubes, because I'm not going to be running it at full voltage most of the time, I don't think. I think I'll be dialing it back so I can play it in the living room, and I'm not going to disturb the neighbors and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
We have to worry about as guitar players.
Of course. What is the wattage, by the way, of this amp?
It probably does about 35 watts. I'm guessing. I've never really measured it or anything like that, but just by how much volume you can get out of it. Anyways, the story behind the name, the EMB, it's my grandmother's initials.
Okay.
And actually the day that I was starting to make the top plate here for the control panel, I'm saying, what am I going to call this thing? The Comet, the Jupiter, the blah, blah, blah. You know, I went on and I went back and forth, and I'm like going, I don't know what I'm going to call this thing, you know? And that day, you know, I got a call from my dad. Yeah, well, Grandma, bless her heart, 92 years old, in a retirement home, passed away. And so I thought, you know, what a fitting tribute, you know, that I just name it after her. So that's where her initials came onto this. And so,
That's awesome.
yeah, so it just kind of, you know.
It's even more awesome that it then stays in the family since it's now your son's amp.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, he loves it. And so I got his permission to have you take it, because he's watched a little bit of the series, and he's like, oh, and that's really cool you guys are doing. So
All right. Thanks, Craig. Let's do a full playthrough and see what this amp is really made of. Okay, I may have gotten a little carried away with the jamming here, but I was having fun. I didn't think you'd mind too much if I spent some time showing you what really makes the EMB tick. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And who knows if we'll ever see the EMB on this channel again. Coming up in the next episode, we'll head back out to the shop to join Craig while he gets busy rebuilding the JTM30. There's quite a bit of work to be done before I can spend endless hours jamming through my new amp. So let's get back to it. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.
Shirky's Machine, most entertaining channel you've ever seen. He's always making lots of interesting scenes for you to watch on YouTube.